going into my popularity as this character in the Kommissar X series, we were filming a lot of different films, so I was moving from country to country and story to story, and so I didn't have time to see many of the films that I did. I don't know, I don't remember how many, 40 to 50, I guess. And during that time, I was all over the world, so I didn't have time to see many of the movies. I've seen maybe, out of 40 or 50 movies, I've seen maybe 20 of them. And it's now that I can see them, I have time to see them, it brings back a lot of memories, things that I would have totally forgotten about, but you know, it's a lot of fun in one way, but when I see myself doing all these things, sometimes I don't recognize myself. I say, oh my God, who was that guy? And I say, that's me, you know. And we now seems to be looking at him from California, and I knew he was a karate expert and a very dangerous guy, so I'm very happy to have him for a friend. And he also taught me a lot about karate, and I had my own interpretation, so I would do my kind of karate after learning from him the basics of karate. And I brought him along because I wanted him to be the bad guy, perfect bad guy character, and I was the good guy. So I brought him along to make me look better when I would win our fights. I think we did 2 or 3 films together, and in each time he was the bad guy, I was the good guy, which I enjoyed, but he loved doing the work because we became quite good friends. And I'm grateful that we were friends and not enemies.
I'm sure about that. We will talk about that a little bit later. The Kommissar X movies, it was a series of 7 movies.
Movie about these 2 guys, you know, Kommissar X and Captain Rowland. And then when we finished that one, and they came up with another one, and so we did just one at a time. I didn't have a contract for the series, but since the series seemed to be having a life of its own and became popular because of the genre of that kind of film, James Bond spawned a lot of kind of copycat films, and this was kind of the German one, and based upon the success of that, why we just did one, then we did another, and different parts of the world to make it more interesting. You know, working up to the final, the people knew that sooner or later I was going to have this combat, mortal combat, we would say, you know, live or die with Dan Bottas, and it worked perfectly.
Your character was already introduced in the movie by now. Now the other guy is coming. We have to wait some seconds more, but a typical scene for Joe Walker, the main character of the series, Kommissar X himself. And I think when we see what's going on, it's a typical scene for Tony Candle.
As I said, he was the lover, I was the fighter, and here he is.
He does everything he can, like always, yes.
Well, that was his true life. He was living his true life in his films, and I was living my true life in his films.
So it was no acting. It was the real Tony we see.
Oh yeah, totally, totally Tony.
Totally Tony.
Yeah.
Right now, great. So about
Germany and mostly in California and Los Angeles, because I then started my own business because I was a personal trainer. I was one of the managers of the first chain of health clubs in the world, actually. And then I started my business, fitness business, with fitness products. So Tony and I had very little contact then, but whenever we did have contact, that's part of life. That's part of life.
was so incredible after this great show we had on stage, and he was so vivid and so full of power, as it seemed. But
oh, that was a night. You remember? I remember one thing.
Not anymore. I said, then what is it, Luciano Stella? See, it is. I said, thank you very much, Tony. See you in a week. And I had to book it new because Tony Kendall was not on the flight.
Tony Kendall, but I always called him. It was a loose translation, you know, together. And to this day, and I hope he can come to my party this year. I hope he can bring his wonderful, wonderful wife. And at one point we went out to, he lives out in the countryside outside of München, beautiful, quiet little community, and his wife was a wonderful cook. And so we had some very, very nice times out there also. Very, very, you know, very friendly, like we are family. We're like brothers, no question.
I think he has 2 sons. And one of the sons is quite interesting, can be read in the internet, is Benedict. And he, it's really amazing. Siegfried Rauch, he made a movie in the early 70s with Steve McQueen, a film called Le Mans. It's about a 24-hour race in the northwest of France, Le Mans, the city of Le Mans. And McQueen was producer and actor in the movie, of course, and they got friends as well.
About some of the movies, and he always brought Steve into the conversation, which was nice. And Steve was he was a good guy also, real motorcycle. Many times I should have actually died at this one especially. And I must this particular scene with the palm tree, that was a great idea. That was not my idea. That was the director's idea. But well, basically his idea, but we pulled it off. He asked me if we could do it. He was always very happy to call my suggestions his own, you know. But he had a few good ones. I give him credit for that.
Ich habe ihn erwischt, Sir. Niemand ist so schnell wie Karl.
Let's talk a bit about Dan Vardis. You already mentioned you've been a friend to him, very close friend, and did you know him from your Muscle Beach time in Los Angeles? Because he was also doing peplum movies in Italy when he started his career.
Well, physical fitness trainers, and I also knew that he was a karate. We called him Karate Dan because he was so good at it, and he was, as you see. He had all the movements perfectly, and he taught me a lot of stuff. But then all the stuff that he taught me, I would incorporate into my choreographing of the scene and of the stunts. But because I knew he could do a lot of this stuff, and if I could do it, I knew he could do it. And so yeah, we always worked great together, and I loved having him there because it's great to have a good friend and a good companion to do this dangerous stuff together. You know.
Did you know anything about the circumstances about his death? He died very young.
Well, Dan, he sort of got into this. What's going on here? I said, I never saw this. I don't want to know about it. I didn't hear anything. You know, this is your deal, but leave me totally out of it. I don't want to know. And somehow he got that back to the United States. I don't know. But then he died in a strange way, but it had something to do with the underworld, because I know that when he got back, he was selling this stuff, and then he himself became addicted. And that was very, very strange for me, because he was always so much into his health and everything. But that just goes to show you how dangerous these drugs are, because many of these drugs, I don't.
Obwohl Ihr Vater diese Irrsinnssumme bezahlt, würde es mich beruhigen, wenn Sie eine meiner Polizeischülerinnen bei sich hätten.
Ich habe nichts dagegen, Inspektor. Aber die Auswahl ist so groß. Hey, Tom, das solltet ihr zu Hause in den Staaten auch einführen. Und wenn du einen Hilfstrainer brauchst, der richtig auf Draht ist?
I am so impressed by the work that's been done. This is like a brand new film. It's the Oktoberfest party. She was there for about 2 hours. We had a great party. She got back on the plane, went back up to London, didn't miss a day of work, and we had our Oktoberfest together. That was great. Just great. So.
So let's talk about A Gentleman we already saw.
Yeah.
Some minutes before. It's the famous actor Rolf Zehet, but maybe he's not so really a famous actor. Maybe he's better well known for his real name, Rudolf Zehet-Gruber, who is actually the director of this Kommissar X movie. You worked with him a lot of times. We already mentioned him before. Can you tell us something about Rudolf Zehet-Gruber and maybe the difference to Gianfranco Parolini, who is a personal friend of yours as well?
Well, you know, Rudolf Zehet-Gruber, he was good. He had a lot of great ideas, but we also had a lot of conflicting ideas. So because of this conflict, and each time we had a conflict, if I knew I was right, I just said, well, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And as it turned out, each time I insisted, like my confrontation with Karate Dan in little parts in movies, so Gianfranco wanted to do that too. But he did it. Ego, but not in a way that he was trying to become a movie star or anything. He did it because it was fun, and you saw him when he was acting in the movie. He was,
running. And
yeah. It was almost melodramatic, the way he did his parts. I remember one time, especially when we were shooting a film, and we were shooting. The camera was shooting me, but Gianfranco, he was on the other side, and he was supposed to be smoking, and I could see him, but he couldn't see me, and he wasn't a smoker, so the cigarette smoke got in his eyes, and he was blinking, and he couldn't handle it, and so I was behind the camera, and I started laughing. I couldn't stop laughing because it was so ridiculous, We had to reshoot it over and over again because he didn't know how to smoke, really. But when the smoke got in his eyes, and he's just, no, and then of course, Brad, kick cuts off, what the hell are you doing, And I said, well, Gianfranco, tu non sai fumare, you don't know how to smoke, He said, vaffanculo, screw you. I mean, we had that, you saw that when we were playing around, we had that kind of a relationship, screw you, vaffanculo, go fuck yourself, stuff like that.
But Rudolf always with animals. Was he an animal lover? He is feeding some
professional acrobat at his time, and these three people, we made it happen again. But then there was something to do with the rights. We could have made 10 of those things, but Parolini lost the rights or something, and then I did some kind of a copy of it, and it was terrible, and it just didn't go anywhere, didn't go anywhere, but too bad about that. But still, it was fun while it lasted, and it was like a comic strip. It was a comic, no question about it. It was like a comic strip, and we did it good. And one time I did this is interesting, even for me. I did, because I could do impersonations also of different characters, and I used to, when I was younger, I did impersonations of actors, and we all had a good laugh about it, and I was pretty good at that. But I did, in one of these films with Gianfranco, I did kind of a character, a Popeye character. In Italy, it's called Braccio di Ferro, and a German producer had the rights to Popeye to make a movie. So Gianfranco said, let's do this, because he saw me do this character, and so we got a hold of this producer who had the rights to it, and we said, great. So, and Gianfranco, if I had done Popeye, it would have been really a good movie, because with Gianfranco's, his feeling of comedy and comic strip and that kind of thing, it would have worked. But just before we were going to really get into it, I mean, I even had T-shirts made, and the character, because I'd done a character, the character that I did in whatever film that was, his name was Scotty. So with the T-shirt said Scotty, and a beautiful caricature of the character Scotty, and here was a picture of Popeye that had a can of spinach. He was eating the spinach, and he had to go with that. But then, just before we were going to get into it, the producer forgot about the rights. His option for the rights to Popeye, he lost it, and someone else got it immediately, and then they did a Popeye with Robin Williams, which was totally wrong. It was a boring movie. It was slow. It was boring, and I'm sure Robin Williams regrets he ever did that, because he was a terrific actor, no question about it. But he was not Popeye, and the director was not Gianfranco Parolini. But I was Popeye, and the director would have been Gianfranco Parolini, and I regret that, because that would have been a lot of fun, a lot of fun. And I'm sure if you talk to Gianfranco, he also would be very sad that we didn't get to do that. So that's my Popeye story. True.
You look back onto your long career.
Oh my God! Yeah. Now that I see some of these movies, I mean, the memories. They know that we're not doing anything until I have my time. Sacro, sacred. That's my sacred time. So that carries me. That carries me, and I love that, because then whatever problem I think I have disappears totally, and I come back just feeling reborn. I swear to you, I feel reborn. Yeah.
Regarding back, something would you say you would never do again? Something you regret?
You know, it's hard.
Maybe doing this hard scene with Dan, it seems really very tough.
No, that was a great scene, boy. That was a great scene. Dan and I put that together. To this day, that's a great scene, because look at Dan. I mean, he is evil. He is evil. Yeah, that's a great scene. You know, I'm telling you, with what this artist behind us has done is a miracle. It's a miracle of technology and the ability to use the technology to recreate this. That's great. It's like a brand new movie, you know. Was I right about this scene or not? You know, totally.
Lots of blue spots after doing that?
Well, of course, that's part of the
How
deal.
many?
Uncountable, you know. See that scene? That was tough. To do from that height, to do a backflip and not break my leg or break my neck or something, that was tough. Yeah. For me, that was one of the highlights. I never saw it. Well, you know, I don't remember that scene whatsoever. But you see, that was great when we got to go to these different countries. Well, look at that background. That's sensational, with all those palm trees and the elephants and the locals on the elephants. That's great stuff. That is great stuff. Well, hey, that was a damn good movie. Let's bring it out again.
Can't you remember that?
No. Not for a second. Nothing. And that stuff I saw in the Blauer Panther, I don't remember it.
There is a stunt, the last stunt of the movie now.
Yeah.
Tony's crashing into the airplane, and it was not you who did that.
Maybe.
With the red shirt.
Yeah. I don't remember that.
Finale. So we already have reached the end of Kommissar X, Drei gelbe Katzen. And I can only say thank you very, very much, Brad Harris.
Well, thank you very much.
Talking to us, giving all this information, telling you so much about your life and your memories. I'd like to finish that audio commentary with something I have read yesterday on the Fieber so many times on your back.
Oh.
Das ist ein Abenteuer aus der 7-teiligen Filmreihe. Mein Name ist Joe Steinbeck.